another episode of the Next Fix podcast. And of course, we like to visit individuals and hear about their comeback stories. And today we've got a particular person who specializes in men's comeback stories in regards to divorce, of course, separation, and things like that, right? And so we're going to hear about Josh's story. And so, Josh, man, how you living today, man?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on your show, Ryan. Appreciate it.
The guy looks great. He's got a large red influence, right? Red lights, red beard. It's very, very.
Does it look red? I think it usually looks orange, but does it look red to you? Maybe it is. Maybe it is red. I don't know. Sometimes it changes with the shirt color. Like if I wear like a white, it looks more orange in here. Otherwise, it looks more red. I don't know. Something like that.
It's the beard. It's the beard. What the hell are we talking about? It's the fucking beard. It's fierce.
My hair actually isn't quite as red. Maybe it looks like it but it's the beard for sure.
Hey, man. Well, I'm a spotted American too. You know, I got some red going on, you know, so I'm like, you know, but listen, man, we want to hit the ground running, man. So tell us, man, like, well, how did life end up being shit? You know, when did the train come off of the tracks for you, brother?
Ooh, good question. That's actually a hard question to answer now that you say it that way, because it depends on if you're asking about when I realized the train came off the tracks, if you're asking when other people realized that train came off came off the tracks, or if when it really did. So which of those questions is it? Maybe all of them. So, maybe
you know what that makes me think of? You know what that makes me think of is like there's three sides to every story. There's your side, my side, and then there's the truth. You know what I mean? I always think about that like visually, like with a coin. You know, there's two sides of the coin, but then there's like the lip around the outside. That's usually the truth. It's like, you know, the real objective truth. But now I want to know in your opinion, like when the hell did you think to yourself like, oh shit, like I gotta make a move, you know?
You know, when you just said that too, it reminds me, one of my favorite quotes is from the GOAT, Tony Robbins. And he says, you don't experience life, you experience the life you focus on. And I think that's the best way to answer the question, because very, very brief bio. Grew up in a very conservative Christian home where you get married, you stay married the rest of your life. There's no such thing as divorce, maybe in very, 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 very rare circumstances when it's like life or death or something. Okay. So this is the context that I have getting into marriage. I meet my wife when I was 18. We start dating when I'm 19. We're married by the time I'm 22, 2 months after I graduate college. So very young, not a lot of experience, as you can tell, not even a lot of experience dating. It was just, here's the one, we're going to do this, we're going to make it work. And, it was about a little over a decade into it, about 12 years into it or so, where the train started coming off the tracks and neither one of us wanted to admit it, right? We're both in this situation where it's like, no, we have a great marriage and we think we have the marriage that everybody's looking up to. We think like I had all the things, man. Like I've been in finance forever. So I'm a financial planner living in the best neighborhood with the best school district, with the big house, with the nice cars. I'm a member of Rotary. Everyone in the city knows me. I'm probably going to go for mayor eventually.
All the boxes are like checked. You're like,
all
check,
the boxes
check,
are checked, brother.
Right? Yeah.
Involved in the church, have the perfect family, beautiful kids, best school district, all the things, right? All the boxes are checked and slowly dying inside. Just slowly dying inside and not even realizing it, honestly, like not even realizing it. Just kind of, it's one of those situations where maybe you found yourself in where you just keep plugging away and you're like, this is going to work. 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 And you have to tell yourself that, because otherwise you will just literally shut down and fall in shambles if you don't keep telling yourself that.
Right.
That was the place I found myself. And there were a few triggering events, which more than happy to chat with offline. I just know we don't have the time for it today. But there were a few triggering events that essentially got us to a point where we both realized the marriage was over. I didn't want to admit it. She's the one that had to file. She's the one that had to do all the, kind of the aggressive stuff for me to get there. But this is a long-winded answer to your question to say that's when. For me, it was my divorce. For me, when I realized the train was actually off the tracks was when I went through my divorce.
So, all right, well, I got to know, man. You said, we're going to talk about it off camera. No, I got to know. Like, and you could give me like the 30,000 foot view version of it, but like, what the hell? What were these events, man? Like, what was it that was so catastrophic that, that sticks out to you as like, that's the marker?
Yeah, it's a good question. So both of us were pretty codependent in our marriage. Like we were very dependent on the other person. A lot of people, the codependency is difficult to define sometimes, but I'm going to define it in my way right now. And really all codependency is that I need you to feel a certain way so that I can feel a certain way. So I'm going to do whatever I can to try to get you to feel a certain way so that I can feel a certain way. So it's the opposite of self-regulation. Instead of me realizing it is my own responsibility to have the emotions and the feelings that I have, I'm dependent upon somebody else to do that for me. This is maybe a semi-controversial statement, but this is part of the reason with what's wrong with therapy is that a lot of people go to therapy. Therapy can be a very good thing. I went through years of therapy myself, but people can go to therapy in order to get that self-regulation, in order to get somebody else to validate them and make them feel better instead of learning how to do it themselves. So I was stuck in a marriage like this, where we were both doing this to each other. Now you add on some of my, let's just say some of her other tendencies, which I'll let her speak to that. I don't want to speak negatively about anybody.
Right.
And then I had a lot of addictive tendencies. So I have had, there's a part of me for sure that's very addictive that I have to watch out for, that can just go into things that so codependency is also an addiction, right? It's again, right. I need you to make me feel a certain way so that I can remove this negative feeling from my body. Well, that's all addiction is. Whether somebody uses alcohol or drugs or sex or anything else for that matter, it's the same thing. It's just, I can't sit with these emotions. I can't process these. I can't go through these myself, or at least I think I can't. So I need something else to help me with that. Well, maybe it'll be drugs. Maybe it'll be alcohol. Maybe it'll be women. Maybe it'll be sex. Maybe it'll be shopping. Maybe it'll be validation. There's a million things. Maybe it'll be overeating. There's a million things that it could be, right? Yeah. So I was stuck myself. Again, I'm only going to speak to myself because I don't want to speak ill of anybody else. I was stuck in a lot of addictive patterns where I didn't know how to self-regulate. I didn't know how to nurture myself. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to nurture and love my relationship with my higher power or God or universe or spirit or whatever you want to call it. We all have some sort of connection to that. Yeah. And I firmly believe that the only way for anyone to have a fulfilling life is to have a good relationship with their higher power and a good relationship with themselves. That's the only way to nurture yourself. It's the only way to validate yourself that actually lasts. Now, you and I might have a validation statement right here, and I might feel really good and be like, Ryan, wow, that was so amazing. I was so glad that I was on your show, etc. I'm not saying that that's not validating. What I'm saying is that won't last.
Right.
Because I'll leave. At 5 minutes after this interview, something will happen, and I'll be like, oh, my life is over. Right? Like if I don't know how to regulate and validate myself, right? Yeah. So there was a lot of things that I was doing. And some of the things that triggered that, I went to Vegas and got myself in trouble, got super drunk, ended up kissing a woman, never had sex with her or anything else, but was inappropriate in that way. I had a lot of things behind the scene, whether it meant pornography or just a little alcohol here or there, or just a little of this here or there, right? Like it was never the insidious thing about any sort of addiction or addictive tendencies is that a lot of the times it's not so bad that everybody sees it and it's like so obvious. A lot of the times it can just be hidden behind the scenes. And that's how it was with me.
But that's way more dangerous. That is way more dangerous because it's so much less dangerous if I am the fucking heroin addict on the street, literally shooting up all the time, acting like a fucking crazy person, because everyone knows I'm an addict. That's obvious. The people who don't know who are an addict is the financial planner who's in the 3-piece suit, who's in the best school district, who's doing all this shit behind the scenes. Yeah. And so like that is a blessing that I take with my own particular journey, is because it was absolutely clear as day. I was the leading maniac, right? So there was no argument. There was no denial phase. I mean, it was left, right, in my face, all around. Everybody knew it. And so that piece of the puzzle wasn't something I had to figure out. Now, like many, and again, not to speak ill of people, but I know people intimately and I know people personally that are very close to me. They have limped along. They have kind of they never hit the bottom. They never just smacked like, boom, you're done. You are a mess. Like it never happened. It's actually worse for them because they're just kind of like limping along and it's harder to come back from that because it's not as clear cut. It's like, okay, time to do something. And so here you are, right? You're mentioning, there were some things in the background, but you're not incarcerated, you're not in a hospital and things, but you're not doing well either. And so I guess what was that catalyst? And I mentioned it. It's like,
Well, I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll tell you because I have, so I call them spiritual awakenings. And those are times I think we all have spiritual awakenings in our life, and they usually proceed right after a bottom. So my own personal story was not just one bottom. I had multiple bottoms. So one of my rock bottoms was when I was served divorce papers on my front lawn at my house, unexpected, after all this stuff was going down with my wife at the time. That was a rock bottom. I didn't think it was over. I thought I could save it. I thought I could control it. I thought we could make it work. I thought all those things. I did everything that I could, and it was done. That was definitely a moment in my life where I had to rethink. I was already in the process of doing a lot of like recovery for myself and healing and therapy. And I was doing all this stuff at this point. The moment that happened, it was almost like a switch went off where I was like, I just broke down and I just didn't even know what to do at that point. So that actually led me to a new bottom, because that led me to find, well, I guess if all this stuff is over, it's not worth it. And I realized very quickly at that moment that I wasn't doing recovery and healing and therapy and all that sort of stuff for myself. I was really doing it for my marriage. And, my message to anybody that's listening to this is you cannot heal for somebody else. It will not work. It will not work. I think it's a lovely idea when people are like, I really want to do this for my kids and I really want to do this for my spouse. I think that's lovely. But at the end of the day, if you don't do it for yourself and your relationship with your higher power, it will not work. I promise. It won't.
Right. Yeah.
So I found myself in that space and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I guess I'm just going to do this thing. So this is right as my divorce was finalizing. This is right when COVID actually began and the whole world shut down as well. So I found this group of people that we all wanted to just hang out during COVID and got into all the new bottoms, all the drugs and the alcohol and the sex and all the shit that I'd never done as this like perfect conservative Christian boy growing up. I was like, I'm going all in. So I had about a 6-month period, which was fucking insane. Like for most people, they think COVID, wow, that 2020, right, was crazy. Yeah. Add on top of that, getting divorced in a highly contentious divorce in court all the time and going fucking crazy on drugs and alcohol and everything else. Yeah, my 2020 was insane, bro. So I had about 6 months of this. And I remember distinctly the second rock bottom, which I believe was my last ever. And I was high as fuck on shrooms. And I think they were laced with some other things. Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever done it, but it was a very, very insane experience. And I remember I'm sitting in there in my apartment with my buddy who we're doing this with, and there's like fucking demons coming out of the wall and out of the floor and all this shit. Like it's just an insane experience, right? If anyone's been on some harder drugs, you might relate to this. So I just remember like lying on my floor, just like freaking out about all the shit that's happening. And I just remember having one of the clearest thoughts of my life. And it was like I was talking to myself. And I just like looked at myself inside my brain and I was like, dude, this isn't you. I was like, what are you doing, bro? That was it. I was like, dude, what are you doing, bro? This isn't you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And that day coincided almost exactly with what would have been it was my first wedding anniversary when I wasn't married when that day happened.
Got it.
Which was a really tough day for me because like I was thinking, thought I'd be celebrating my wedding that day, right? My anniversary.
Right.
And man, it was the day where I just was like, okay, we're done with whatever this 6 months of life was. Like it's time to move on. And it was literally that day where I was like, okay, this is no longer about me dealing with all my pain in such unhealthy ways. This is now, how do I help other guys going through this?
Right.
And
Okay.
ever since then, 5 years ago now, as of the time of this recording, that's all
Yeah.
my mind's been set on, is how do I help guys that are going through this, especially guys going through divorce, guys that are going through this hard time, trying to figure out like, what does version 2.0 of me feel like? Because I would tell you, man, like I've talked to enough divorced guys now where it seems like the biggest issue for them is just how, like your life is so changed. It's like, what does this next stage look like? I don't even know how to look at it. And where most people help divorced guys is not with that. It's not with their vision. It's the attorneys with like court and paperwork and all that sort of stuff. It's the therapist with the past. What happened in the past that, like made you feel this way and blah, 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 blah. It's maybe
Right.
a coach that's like, okay, let's get your business back on track, or let's get you a 6-pack or get your weight back in track or whatever. It's never anybody that's like, okay, your whole fucking life just switched. It's switched. You were on this trajectory. It's completely different now. If I look at my life 6 years ago, I was a completely different person. Like when I think about my life 6+ years ago, it seems like a memory. It seems like somebody else's memory. It seems like if you've ever seen the show Severance on Apple TV,
Right.
it
Right. Right.
seems
Right.
like there's that aspect of me that I can't even relate to. It's like there's two different Joshes.
Well, Josh, I want to know, like, okay, because you had mentioned, and I believe wholeheartedly, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the connection between the higher power and yourself is what has to be the foundation. But then you mentioned, the switch, and then it went from that relationship personally, and then of course with your spiritual relationship, but then it switched because now you were like almost, you seem mission driven for others, right? And so like bridging that gap, now clearly you have a high level of cognitive complexity, right? You're able to handle things like that, but like how did you explain that to me? Like how did you bridge that, how did you implement the mission to helping others and helping other men, if that relationship wasn't healed quite yet? Like how did that piece of the journey happen?
That's a good question. You said multiple things that I want to comment on. And
Yeah.
the first one I think that I'll just say is the fact that there is no healed, right? Like I am in a continual process of healing. None of us are healed except
Right.
for like maybe one guy that lived like 2,000 years ago, right? Like besides
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
none of us are healed, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's a continual. So what I realized in that moment is how incredibly selfish I had been, because it was all about me.
Yeah.
And even when it wasn't all about me, because of the fact that like I loved my wife and my kids, I'm not trying to like shame myself or say that I was a bad person. I wasn't, honestly. Like I was still a good person and I still really cared deeply for them. But at the end of the day, it was still all about me. Like that's what it was. And the shift came when I realized like I'm sitting here, I'm laying here on first of all, an apartment. Like I just told you where I'd come from, right? Like I'm laying on the ground of an apartment, seeing demons come out of my carpet right now, thinking like I don't have anybody that's helping me vision the next 2.0 version of my life. And in that moment, it's like, okay, that's what I'm going to do for other guys. I want to be there for guys in their darkest of days when I didn't have somebody. That's my mission.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the number one goal for me to be able to be in that position again is for me to find out better ways of loving and nurturing myself and better ways of loving and nurturing my relationship with my higher power. Because if I don't have those two, I can't pass that on to any other guys or women or anybody or my kids or anybody.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a continual process of trying to figure out how to do that. And here's the thing that I would say to anybody watching or listening, and also to you, Ryan. And that is, I received this advice years ago, and it's always been really helpful for me. In order for you to help somebody else, you only have to be a little bit ahead on the journey. So myself, as a perfectionist, as somebody who always wants to do something really well, I often think, well, like I'm here and they're here, so I can't help them. Like I can't help them till I'm here. No. If I'm here and they're here, I can help them. That's all that matters. I just need to be a little, and it's not better. It's not smarter. It's not wiser. Trust me, it's not. I made a lot of stupid fucking decisions in my life. It's only about, I've been through the fire. You're still going through the fire. So let me help you through the fire. That's it.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And it was coming to my mind is that it's just one rung on the ladder. If somebody's just one rung ahead on the ladder, that's all it takes. You're nowhere even near the top. Doesn't matter. If you can look down and reach back and grab their hand and get them one rung higher, then boom. It's huge. And then I feel that we all, and this is kind of speaking very grand, I suppose, but I feel like that's what we should all do. That's just the name of the game. If we could all just do that, like in any way, whatever particular realm that you have experience in, and your realm happens to be in divorce and separation and things like that. I mean, so, and then, you've touched a lot on, addiction and a recovery, and then yourself, and you've even had a bit of that peppered into your own awakening and healing and things like that. Like when you're helping these guys, like how common is it that they're conjoined, right? Like that there's a substance abuse issue thrown into the mix with the divorce issue. Like how common is that?
Well, it's a good question. So the way that I coach guys is I don't just coach them through divorce or other, like I also help them with finances. Like I told you, I've been doing financial planning for almost 2 decades now. So I have a lot of experience there. And let me actually just use that as an example, because maybe people are listening to this, are like, yeah, I don't have addiction issues, whatever. That's fine. Think about it in terms of business as well. One of the primary reasons, if not the most primary reason I've been so successful in my financial planning business is simply this. It's not that I'm smarter. It's not that I'm more intelligent. It's not that I'm better at these things. It's simply that I know how to coach people. And more importantly, I coach enough people that I see enough examples to know what will work. So I often say this to my clients, like as they're heading into retirement. Like the only reason you want me heading into retirement is because I've already helped 1,000 of you enter retirement. And if you do this right, you're going to enter retirement one time. So you have no experience or knowledge or understanding of how to enter retirement, which is fine. You shouldn't. You've never entered retirement before. How would you know? Like maybe you saw a friend from a distance, but that's not going to be very helpful. Well, I've literally helped thousands of people actually walk into it. So I can use that just as case study to help you walk into it, even though I'm not retired myself, right? Does that make sense? I see it the same way with every other aspect of coaching with men. Right. Is that you got to look at so like when you're going through, especially when you're going through a traumatic event like a divorce, there are elements of you that just shut down. Maybe it's the spiritual side. Maybe it's the physical side. Maybe it's the emotional side. Maybe it's the financial side. There's only so much capacity in your body to do so much. And so I noticed that a lot of guys, when they're going through this or even after they've gone through it, number one, quote unquote, healthy way guys dig into is work, usually.
Right.
The unhealthy ways are the common addictions that we see, right?
Yeah.
And work can be just as much of an addiction as cocaine. It can be just as dangerous, if not worse. So to come back to actually answering your question, yes, there's always addictive tendencies every single time. But that's also broader because all of us have addictive tendencies. Every single person on the planet, we all have something that we want to go to escape when we're not feeling good.
Yeah.
And that, I think there should be less shame around that because we all do it. That's not a shameful thing. It's just a realization. Like I didn't start getting better until I actually owned the fact that I did that. Up to that point, that's where addiction's insidious and takes over your life. When you don't actually own it and you admit it and you realize it. Like if anyone's ever been through a 12-step program, the step 1 is just admitting that you're powerless, but there's a step 0. And a step 0 is just admitting that there's a problem.
Right.
You have to admit that something is happening in your life before you even admit that you're powerless over it. You have to first realize it's even a problem. Like I told you back in my story was I didn't think that I had it. Like I knew I had problems. I wasn't like an egotistical narcissist that never like apologized or said, it's not like that. I just didn't own the fact that I was really living in these cycles in my life.
Right. And so I talk about this often is that because my mother's in active addiction and alcoholism, but my mother has never once, because people will say, well, you help people all the time with recovery and addiction and alcoholism. Yeah. Why don't you help your mother? And it's because she's never made it to step zero. I mean, if you talk to her right now and you said, hey, listen, do you think maybe, maybe you shouldn't, maybe these pills are giving you a hard time. Maybe the alcohol is not the best solution. She would look at you like you're freaking nuts. Like it's so that, like, yes, that's step zero. It's a real thing, because if it's not even on your radar, and then you're just still kind of navigating things as as a lunatic, like nothing is absolutely wrong, and then you never get off the ground. And I wanted to say that, what you were mentioning about like the coaching and how you aren't retired, right? However, you have the experience and you've built that, right? And so this is you. This is you as a professional. And so I find a lot of time is like the average person, a very big blunder here is that we seek advice about things from people that don't have any idea. And
For sure.
It's like you just
you want to take a wild guess, Ryan, how many times over the last 19 years of my financial career that somebody, when I've been talking to them about something, have said, yeah, but my neighbor or my friend Jim did this. Great. I'm glad that your friend Jim, who is a financial disaster, who's never going to be able to retire, who's a complete idiot with his finances, I'm glad you're taking his opinion. Good job. Keep going. You're doing great.
So tough.
I mean, it's insane. Tough. Like, it's insane to me. It's like, I'm seeing a lot of this online right now, and maybe I just need to like vent about this for a moment, but there are so many women dating coaches for men right now, it seems like. And I'm like, okay, so I look at the woman, they're not that attractive. They're not in a fulfilling relationship. They're very like, they're just like telling me what to do. I'm like, what? I don't understand the appeal here. Like, how are you you haven't figured it out for yourself. And I don't want a relationship like you have, yet you are just basically telling me to do things. There's a guy, you may know who he is, so I won't mention his name, but he does a lot of this online too. And his classic line, which I love, is he said, you don't ask a fish how to fish. He said, you have to ask a fisherman how to fish. And that's his comment on women dating coaches. But the only reason I bring that up, and I'm sure there's some great women dating coaches, blah, blah, blah. But the reason I bring that up is the person that you're going to get advice from and your wisdom from. First of all, people underestimate how much they have inside themselves all the time. People underestimate how every single one of the answers you're looking for in your life can either come from you and or your higher power. 100% of them. Now, does your higher power or you attract and bring energy from other people that might also give you wisdom? Of course you can. But people really underestimate how much they know down in their gut. So some people call it God. Some people call it gut. Some people call it intuition. To me, it's all the same thing. It is that feeling in there where you know without a shadow of doubt, this is the thing I need to do. And if I could just push back all the fear and the insecurity and all the other shit that's keeping me from doing it, I know that is the thing. Yeah. I feel it when I'm a parent. I feel it in my relationships. And honestly, like for me, one of the biggest benefits of the last several years of my life on this healing journey has been hearing that voice better. Right. It's been able to like actually just go and then act on it.
Yeah. So what's that look like these days for you? How are things going? Like what I guess, where are you at in life? Are you searching for another relationship? Are you, where are you at? Like what's going on?
Which aspect do you want me to talk about? You're asking a lot of different questions.
I don't know. Like, are you back on the market? Are you just,
relationally? So you're asking relationally?
I guess, yeah. Like, I mean, what is your personal?
Sure, I'll give you a very short answer to the relational one, which I think some of your viewers and listeners might relate to. I remember, quick story. I was in a program going through my divorce called Divorce Care. It's often through churches, and I would say that there's some good information in it that just kind of helps you understand like why you're feeling and thinking certain things while you're going through divorce. It's a group program, so you're working it with other people going through divorce, and it was kind of a cool experience. It was really outdated. The videos were terrible. It was very like religious, which, you know, like growing up in my household, it didn't offend me, but it just wasn't helpful either. So, but anyway, all that being said, one of the things that I remembered distinctly them saying, the people in the group that have all been divorced before, they all said the same thing. And I found it fascinating. And what they said, when my relationship ended, the one that was after my marriage, it was harder than when my marriage ended. And I was like, there's no way that you could have been married for 20 years and then you broke up with that person and then you date somebody else for a year, you break up and that relationship's harder. There's no absolute. Fast forward to a year ago when that happened to me. So I wouldn't say overall it was harder. There are different elements, but the one thing that I didn't expect as somebody coming out of a very long-term, like I was with my wife for 16 years and I'm not that old. So, you know, I got together young, as I already mentioned. But the one thing that I wasn't expecting, so I was with this woman for almost 2 years. So, you know, this is multiple years after my divorce now at this point. I was very healthy. I had healed a lot. And in general, it was a very healthy relationship until it wasn't.
Right.
And the aspect of that relationship ending that was harder than my marriage is because I had done all the healing work and I was in such a better spot and it was such a healthy relationship, it was much more devastating when it ended. Because when my marriage ended, it was like, yeah, this should end. Like eventually, once I got past the realization that this is a super toxic marriage, I should not be in it, then it was okay to be like, okay, yeah, this should end. But being in a really healthy relationship was really tough, man. And I didn't expect that, but now I understand what they all were saying. And that is, when you get into a healthy relationship after that unhealthy one, it can be really difficult when that ends. So that was difficult for me for several months, for longer than I wanted to admit. Even as healthy, like I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my life, it was still really challenging for several months.
That's so interesting.
But the thing that I did know that made it so much better long term is the fact that what I knew was that I needed to sit in it when it was done. Because before I would have just rebounded, found some other woman, went out, had a bunch of sex, did some other bad alternatives, whatever it is, right? But this time I was like, no, I need to sit through this. I need to deal with my grief. I need to go through the stages. I need to allow it to happen. And I need to do it by myself, because you can't do it with somebody else. You know, you'll hear these stories sometimes of like people being in toxic marriages and then meeting somebody else while they're in the marriage and they're still married 20 years later. Okay, maybe that happens for like 0.1% of the population, but 99.9% of those relationships will fail, because if you haven't worked on yourself and you're not a healthy human being coming to another healthy human being, the relationship will not work. So as difficult as it was very good for me, because I took the time. And I dug into my healing even more. I dug into my recovery even more. I dug into healing my body even more. The spiritual side of me, the emotional side of me, financial, dug into business more. Like I definitely made mistakes, but I tried to dig into those things as much as possible, realizing like if I don't sit with this stuff and deal with it, the next time it comes up, it's just going to come back stronger and harder and more difficult. So very long-winded story to answer your question of, yes, I'm currently single. I would say within the last couple of months really is kind of when I just started dating again. Like I've been dating on and off this year, nothing real serious. And I think it's going to be a while till I find somebody that I really want to be with long-term again, because I had never given more of my heart to anybody than this last one. Just not even close. I'd never been so connected to somebody. I'd never been so in love with somebody, including my wife, unfortunately. I'd never been so connected. I'd never been so open and vulnerable and honest. And man, like it's hard after that ends, because there's definitely a part of you that wants to be like, yeah, fuck this. I'm never going to be vulnerable ever again. I'm never going to give my heart to anybody, because it
Yeah.
hurts too much. And then the other part of you is like, yeah, but that's what love is, bro. Like you can't experience
Right.
love unless you go through these heartaches. It's just not possible. And I
Yeah.
wish it was, dude. Like God or higher power, universe, whatever created all this shit. Like, why did you have to make it like this? You could have made it to where love was just easy. Like you could have. It didn't have to be this difficult, heart-wrenching experience, but that's what it is.
Right. And so what I'm picking up, man, is that like you're high on the ladder. You're just going higher on the ladder. You're just climbing up, right? And each now that you've gone through the marriage, you've made it through that, you made it through the separation, and then there's another relationship that's just made your skill set and your soul and like what you are even more robust, right? And so, I mean, that seems like that's just like your mission, man. You're just higher, higher, and higher, man. I love it.
Yeah, I often tell people this, like if you are, I'll put it this way. If you are going through a breakup or if you've just gone through a breakup or there's going to be a relationship transition here in the future. Here's the thing that's important for everybody to know. There are only two ways of responding through a relationship transition. Count them two. One is you dig into unhealthy behaviors. You dig into addictions, whether it's drugs or alcohol, or what I would say I see most often with men is work, becoming a workaholic and just digging everything into business.
So, Josh, what it does sound like to me is that even like you making it through the separation and the divorce, and then revisiting a relationship and then becoming much more transparent and vulnerable and these things that you find to be noble and you think is the way to do it. And then making it through that relationship, but despite you sharing how hard that was, all I hear, all I can see is that you're just going up higher on the ladder, brother. That's all it sounds like to me, is that you're just becoming more robust in your experience. And so now, even though you've been a financial advisor and planner for 20 years, it's those experiences that makes me think like, this is the guy to talk to. This is the guy to talk to about something like this because you know what you're talking about.
I appreciate that. And I think it's true. But here's the reason I think it's true. It's because of the fact that I'm going up the ladder like Chevy Chase was in Christmas Vacation. Like I go up the ladder, but then I slip and I fall down and then I fall over and then I fall into the tree and then I fall into the roof and then I get my arm stuck, like my little, my sleeve stuck in the staple like that, but that's the guy that you want to listen to, right? Like that's the guy I want advice from. The guys that are polished and all put together, the guy I used to be, the guys that are polished and all put together and they show up in the suit and everything is so perfect. Like, fuck you, man. Because you have so much shit going on that I don't even get to know about, so I can't learn from. The reason that guys learn so much from me is because I've learned so much from other guys because of the fact that I've failed at everything I've ever tried in my life. And that's a good thing. That's not a shameful thing because every single time I've done that and I've slipped off that ladder, I figure out a way to get to the next rung. Right? This is something I often tell guys when they're going through a relationship transition that I think is really, really critical. Every person that's going through a relationship change, a relationship transition, a breakup, a divorce, whatever it is, you have two options when you go through that. And it might be a combination of the two, but in general, you have two options. And here's the deal. You can either choose a path of unhealth, where you dig into your addictions. Maybe your addiction is drugs and alcohol and the traditional addictions. Or more likely, what I see most often, guys dig into work, especially. I'm just going to put my nose down and I'm going to figure out my business. I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to do this with it. Like it all becomes about work. These are generalities. It's not always true, but most guys I notice dig into work. And most women that I notice dig into other relationships. So in an unhealthy way, guys dig into work and they're like, okay, this is what's going to validate me. I'm going to have success at work. I'm going to get validated this way. This is what I'm going to do. And that becomes an unhealthy obsession, addiction, because of the fact that everything else goes out the window. Women often do the same thing with relationships where they're like, well, this isn't working anymore with this person, so I'm going to go find some other person. And then I'm going to find another person. And maybe it's a long-term person. It's like that serial person that goes from serial long-term relationship to serial long-term relationship with never any breaks. The problem with either one of these modalities or any other flavor of this, maybe it's overeating for you, maybe it's shopping, maybe it's just seeking validation from the wrong places, maybe it's strip clubs. I don't know what it is. It's something. It's something that you're doing to not actually just like sit with the grief and the emotion and the difficulty of the relationship that just ended, which is the hardest thing to do because that's the second option. Instead of me digging into any of these unhealthy behaviors, I dig into healthy ones. I dig into recovery. I go to therapy. I get a coach. I do things to help my brain. I meditate more. I pray more. I eat better. I exercise more. All these things that we all know are good for us. And really, you only have one of those two options. So I'm not saying if you're on the healthy path, you're never going to do an unhealthy thing. I've done more unhealthy things than I could count. And I'm not saying if you're on the unhealthy path, you'll never do something healthy, like you'll never open the door for somebody. Of course you will. But everyone primarily is on one of these paths. And if you are in a relationship and you find yourself on this path where you're trying to heal and you're trying to recover and you're going to therapy and you have the coaches and you're putting good stuff in your mind and you're meditating and you're praying and you're creating a better relationship with your higher power and you're doing all these things, one of the hardest things in a relationship is when you have that observation and that realization that the other person you're in relationship with is on the other path. That's the most difficult thing to realize. Like, oh my God, they're just on a path of destruction. And it could be you, but every relationship ends at the realization that people are on different paths. Whether you decide to end it or not, the relationship is over at that moment because it becomes a different relationship. And the only way relationships work is if you're both on that healing path. So again, back to what we said earlier, Ryan, this is not about having it figured out. Like you said, just going up the next ring on the ladder. The only thing relationships are, man, is trying to find who will go up that ladder with you. That's it. If I have somebody else in my life and she is headed up that ladder and I'm headed up that ladder, it doesn't even matter if we're on the same ring. If we're on that same trajectory and we're both trying to heal and recover and everything else, then it's a golden relationship. The only reason my last relationship ended was because of the fact that one of us was on that upward trajectory and one of us wasn't. And we came to a very honest realization of that at a certain point. It doesn't I'm not saying that she or I is worse or better or anything else. There's no good, bad here. It's just the path you're on, man. I've been on the path of destruction plenty of times in my life. It's not good or bad. It's just part of your healing journey. That's just where you're at. So this is not a shame-filled conversation. It's more of a realization question of just like, where am I? And is my partner in the same spot or is it not? And if not, then relationship probably needs to transition.
Dude, I mean, you are no doubt like super good at this, man. So like, let everybody know, like, what does it look like to work with you? Where can we find you? Where can we learn more? Like, where's the best place to look for you?
Sure. So, I mean, you could look me up online wherever you want, but the best place is Instagram because that's where I communicate with most people. So if you want to go to Instagram, and you can add this to the show notes too if you want, but I am Josh the Derelict, Derelict. So just go to Instagram, type in Josh the Derelict, that's me, and send me a message. Every single message that I receive still, I respond to on Instagram. Obviously, I have my EA and other VAs that help with other things on there, but I still respond to all the messages because I like, especially if I get something like this, because I want to talk to people individually. So send me a message on there. If you're going through a divorce, send me the word divorce. I'll send you a free ebook that I wrote for guys going through divorce, the biggest mistakes to watch out for. If you need some help with finances, send me the word finance. I'm happy to help you with that as well. Like, here's the thing, man. I don't like making my offer really, really small because it's not. Like, my goal is to help a man. This is it. If you are a middle-aged man that has gone through divorce or is currently going through divorce, I don't give a shit if it was 20 years ago. If you are that man and you are on a healing journey, I want to talk to you, even if we don't work together. That is my mission. My mission is, even if I can have one conversation with you that lasts 15 minutes and I can give you one little nugget that changes your life, I know that comes back around in the universe. So I'm good with that. You don't need to pay me for that nugget. Like, I know that that's going to come back around because that's who I'm passionate working with. And maybe you're a woman, you're listening to this, you're like, oh, too bad you don't work with women. Yeah, sorry. I have a passion for guys going through this. Like, I'll talk to you. Sure. Reach out to me if you're a woman. More than happy to. Plenty of women watch my stuff online. Sometimes my social media presence is actually bigger with women because I think women are just more open to having these conversations than men most of the time. So of course, reach out to me. But my passion is for guys. My passion is to help guys stop living this fake bullshit that you've been living all your life. It's the reason people have all these midlife crises is because they realize, like, dude, I spent all my life like not living who I am. And it's time for me to live who I am. So let's talk about that. Like that's what fires me up. So yeah, thanks for asking, man.
This is badass, man. This is super badass. I'm in. I love how you put that in there. Is that because you're talking about, okay, because I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, divorce, I type divorce. Okay. Then it's like, okay, finance. It's like type finance. And you're like, nah, fuck that. Listen, just reach out. And I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna dial you in. And so I don't feel like I know.
I mean, I can't like Ryan, I really should like put all this in a spreadsheet or just have AI do it for me, because the amount of topics that I get sent messages for is just all over the board. I mean, like this week, I can think of messages about finance. I can think about relationship messages. I can think about spirituality. I think of meditation, emotional, a guy that was saying that he was going to commit suicide and wanted my advice or help on trying to like get his mind right. Like, the amount of different types of messages I get are incredible. And it's because, you know, even us as guys, I think, like to think that we're simple as guys, which to a lot, you know, like to a very big degree, guys are pretty simple. Like, take care of me and respect me and love me and I'm good. Like, that's really all I need. So in one way, guys are really simple, but we don't allow ourselves to be complex like women do. And we are complex. There's a lot of shit going on in my brain all the time. And there is in yours too. And there's a lot of actions that we go through. And we like to, you know, simplify it and put it in a box and compartmentalize it because that is partly how our brain works. But we still have a lot of stuff going on. So when I'm working with somebody exclusively with their finances, as an example, shit always comes up. It's never about finance. Because money's never about money. One of my favorite quotes of all time: everything is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. Oscar Wilde.
All right. I've never heard that one, but I could see the logic. And I could see what
I would also change it to money in a capitalistic society. Everything is about money except money. Money's about power. And that's all. Money is about what the money buys for me. Like, no one ever wants to get rich. Like, no one wants the dollar bills. Like, even if they say they do, all they want is the money. It's not the money. It's whatever's behind the money for them, whether it's power or prestige or freedom or security, whatever it is, there's always something behind it. Just like no guy, even the dirtiest guy that's out there trying to sleep with as many women as possible, it's never about the sex. It's about the power. It's about the ego. It's about whatever. It's always about something behind
or his mom or something. It's like
totally.
The guys that I know,
which is why, yeah, sure. If you're having a specific money question, fine, feel free. Relationship question, etc. But I'm more interested in, dude, you're going through like a really tough process. You just went through a really tough process. How do you make this the next second half the best fucking half of your life? Like, fuck getting the goddamn Porsche, or if you're poor, getting the Miata. Like, fuck that shit. Like, don't go get the trophy wife. Like, fucking Jeff Bezos is a fucking idiot. That woman looks so goddamn retarded. Like, that probably will get me canceled right there. But don't do that. Like, what sort of insecurity does one of the richest men in the world have to walk around with that thing? Like, that's fucking insane. And honestly, like, I'm not trying to make fun of her or even badmouth him. What I'm trying to say is, let's look behind the scenes.
There's something going on.
You have a guy who has anything that he possibly wants that clearly has some sort of insecurity or trauma or something that's keeping him from doing this. And that's my only goal with the guys that I work with. Dude, I don't give a shit if you're successful or not successful, financially or not financially, if you have a great business or don't have a great business. I don't care. What I care about is, are you living your mission on this planet? And how can I help you get better there? And then by helping you, you help me too. I'll tell you
Fucking
what,
damn.
man, the guys that I coach sometimes I think help me more than I help them.
Well, I mean, I do believe that through teaching, I've done most of my learning through teaching. And like I by helping somebody, I learn way more, even maybe not related. You know what I mean? I could teach something very specific, but like whatever I've learned, either through just the interaction or about myself, always bigger. It's always bigger than the whatever the lesson is that I had presented. Right, dude, you are a badass dude. And I don't give a shit. I'm gonna put the Bezos thing out there. I'm not editing that.
It's up to you, man. It's up to you. That might get you canceled because
I mean, you did use the R word.
I did. I said retarded. It's true. I did. I mean, like, we are both from the same era. We're from a different era when it comes to language, where a lot of the words that we said in the 90s are considered inappropriate today. And here's the thing, man. It's just like any good comedian. Like the comedians that go big are the ones that say things that are like really offensive because of the fact that we all know it's all fucking bullshit. Like any word that we think is offensive is just bullshit. Like if you are triggered, it's not my fault. It's yours. You need to go deal with your own goddamn trigger because you are never going to get better in your life if you just keep using the excuse that somebody else is keeping you from getting where you want to go. It's same for me. If somebody says something to me and it triggers me, which it does, like there are things that trigger an emotional response for me, but my responsibility is to deal with my own emotional response. It's not to have you change something about yourself.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that everybody should just go around saying whatever they want. That's not my point. My point is that you're never going to heal. You're never going to get to that next rung of the ladder if you don't deal with whatever it is inside of you that's making you uncomfortable. And to prove this point, just look at how language changes and what words are appropriate or not appropriate based on the time frame. Well, why did something change? Because society in general decided now this is offensive and before it wasn't offensive. Fuck that. I don't give a shit. Like when I was, again, growing up in a conservative Christian home in the 90s, if I said fuck, oh my God, I would have gotten belted, like literally with a belt to my butt, right? Like there's no way. Now, my son said it the other day, at 12, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like that was my response. But like the point is that we only get offended by these language pieces because of the fact that somebody else told us to get offended about this. How about you stop listening to other people tell you what to be offended by and just decide for yourself what's good for your life? Yeah. So I'll continue to say things that will continue to encourage people to have to look inside themselves. That's what I do. Yeah. I'm an Enneagram 8. It's a challenger. It's a default for me. I challenge everything. Yeah. So sorry, dude.
Well,
sorry.
Well, on that note, brother, I do want to touch base back on the mission, right? And because you got a little fired up there, but I love it. And your mission is to make the second half of a man's life tenfold better than the first half after their divorce, separation, or financial catastrophe.
Yeah. Really my mission is that I work with divorced men to help them not only rebuild their wealth, but also their confidence after they go through probably the most difficult experience they've ever gone through in their life. And my goal is to help them with that vision 2.0 of themselves. Like, what does this really mean? Divorce, what I would say is the same as like big health issues or a death in the family of somebody that's close to you. All of these events are actually as tragic and terrible as they are. They're huge opportunities to be able to sit and think like, what in my life needs to change? What do I want to change? This is not it's not a shaming, like should, like somebody else is telling me, no, what do you want out of your life? It's a moment where you can go down a destructive path and then not find anything that you're looking for. Trust me, I've gone down all the paths. You have too, Ryan. I'm sure you could relate to this as well. Yeah. You can do that, or you can sit and just be like, what do I want out of my life? What do I want this to look like? And a lot of things get demolished and destroyed in a divorce. It could be finances. It could also be relationships. Like for my own divorce, my finances were completely destroyed. My relationships were completely destroyed. My friendships were completely destroyed. Like just everything felt like it was rubble. I had a picture on my wall for a long time of a huge lava field with one little teeny solitary flower growing out of it, because that's how I felt my life was. I felt my whole life had just gotten destroyed. I live in the Pacific Northwest, pretty close to Mount St. Helens, and that blew up 40 years ago. And that's what I think of. I think of just all of this rubble, but there's this little teeny flower like that can come out of all that hurt and that pain and that rubble. And my goal is to try to help that bloom. My goal is to try to help guys like, let's do this. Let's go to 2.0. And this is not belts and belt loops and business bank accounts, right? Like so many people think. Like guys, it's usually, okay, it's money in business or it's a six-pack abs. No, fuck that, man. Those are two aspects of it. But if you do those two things and don't get in touch with your relationship with yourself and your higher power, which has not related to those at all, you're still gonna have a miserable life. And it might be more miserable than it was before. So stop listening to the influencers that it's all about having money in the bank and a six-pack. It's not. That will not give you fulfillment or joy. It won't. I promise.
I love it. Well, listen, man, on that note, brother, I truly appreciate your time. Guys, listen, if you're on the second part of your journey as a man, come see my boy Josh. He's got plenty of wisdom to share and he's willing to do it. So this has been another episode of The Next Fix, guys. We'll see you on the next one.